Hello everybody, Adam here. Just before we begin, I want to give a really quick shout out to Skillshare, who are working with us on Trek Culture to bring you all kinds of awesome classes, and they're sponsoring this video, but more on that later.
Living in the Star Trek universe does not come without its fair share of injuries, and sometimes they're pretty bloody bad. Doesn't mean they don't survive though. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for Trek Culture, and here are the 10 worst injuries Star Trek crew members actually survived. Number 10. Seven's assimilation. While she was just a little girl, Annika Hansen was assimilated by the Borg Collective. She was injected with nanoprobes, placed in a maturation chamber, and forced to become a drone. Along the way, many of her human components were thrown away as scrap. Her hair follicles were killed, her DNA was altered, and various body parts were swapped out for Borg technology. She also faced the loss of an eye. It was replaced with a Borg piece of hardware that actually improved her visual acuity, though at the loss of certain aesthetics. Overall, the transformation from regular human child into a drone was an incredibly traumatic experience. Added to this was the psychological impact of her abduction. Though she spent longer in the collective than out of it, she grew resentful of her parents, whose obsession with the Borg led to their capture. She came face to face with her father only once more after being freed by Captain Janeway, as he was still very much under the Queen's control. Seven's struggles to regain her humanity were met with obstacles, not least those that existed within her body. Were it not for Kes, microscopic pieces of hardware could have fried her brain while she was barely days away from the hive. Seven's survival was not guaranteed at any point, though with the help of her crewmates and a determination that was rarely matched, she made it through. Number 9. Neelix's lungs are harvested by the Vidians. Very early in the first season of Star Trek Voyager, Neelix encounters the Vidians. These pitiable aliens are afflicted by an horrific illness known as the phage. It destroys their bodies cell by cell, resulting in their desperation to survive. They steal healthy organs and tissue from others, inserting them into their own bodies, simply in the search to stay alive. While it's easy to feel sorry for them, one has to feel a whole lot sorrier for poor Neelix. The Talaxian is confined to what is essentially an iron lung, trapped in sickbay for the foreseeable future. The doctor is not hopeful for finding a cure, as organ replication is beyond their capabilities. It really does look grim for the man for a time. Kes, an Ocampo with whom Neelix shares a highly questionable relationship, she's 2 years old, offers to donate one of her lungs to him, stating that she can survive with only one. Though the ship catches up to the Vidians, they are unable to restore Neelix's original lungs. They do, however, help the doctor to transplant Kes's, thus saving the man's life. Number 8. Picard is stabbed through the heart. Jean-Luc was a bit of a daredevil in his youth. That led to him to get into a fight with some surly Nausicans, which could have simply ended with him being thrown across a room, with that being that. However, that wasn't to be the case. As he attempted to defend his friend, one of the Nausicans pulled a knife the size of a small sword, plunged it through his back, and pushed it straight through his heart. Witnesses were left wondering why Picard laughed as this happened. Little did they know that it wasn't his first rodeo. The knife destroyed his heart, requiring immediate replacement with an artificial organ. This periodically needed replacing and upgrading, though never more pressing than during the trip to visit the Lunarians. He is shot, with the energy weapon causing critical damage to his heart. Enter Q. The omnipotent being offers Picard the chance to reset his past, thus removing the mechanical heart from his timeline. This does, however, leave him in the position of becoming a man less likely to take risks, resulting in his never having become captain of the Enterprise. He asks Q to give him another chance, putting things right back the way they were. Luckily, Dr. Crusher is able to save him in the future. Number 7. Chekhov has a seti eel in his brain. This poor bugger. Chekhov was promoted to executive officer aboard the USS Reliant when the ship was tasked with finding the perfect test site for Dr. Carol Marcus's Genesis project. Entering the SETI Alpha system, the ship's scanner detected a life form on what they thought was SETI Alpha 6. Chekhov and Captain Terrell beamed down, only to discover Khan Noonien Singh with his band of surviving supermen waiting for them. SETI Alpha 6 had exploded years earlier, leaving SETI Alpha 5, the planet where Kirk marooned Khan and his people, a barren wasteland. Khan's hatred for the man only grew as his people were killed by the indigenous creatures, the Seti eels. Their young would enter the victim through the ear canal, wrapping around the cerebral cortex before causing madness and death. This was the fate that awaited poor Chekhov and Terrell. The eels burrowed into the men, causing them to scream out in agony. Both faced nearly certain doom. In fact, Captain Terrell only escaped this eventual death that it would bring by turning the phaser on himself. Chekhov was luckier, in a sense. The eel pushed its way out of his body, though Dr. McCoy was thankfully on hand to save the man. It was a close call, even with McCoy's help.
Hey everybody, Adam here. Could I just get your attention for like 2 minutes or something? Yep, okay, close enough. Now, at the start of the video, I said we were working with Skillshare on this, and before I get into that, I just want to say genuinely, Skillshare have been amazing at working with us the last couple of months. They really helped the channel out, but we would not be working with them, or indeed anybody else, unless we thought there was something really cool for you guys to get out of it, so I will now explain what that cool thing is, and how you can get it. Basically, Skillshare is a huge online learning community with thousands of classes for things like video, illustration, photography, design, cooking, crafts, and pretty much anything else. And we have got a really awesome offer for you guys to try it out. Now, truly, honestly, we are stoked to be working with Skillshare because not only did I spend the last 18 months using all of their home improvement classes to turn my tragic single-man one-bedroom hovel into what is now correctly referred to as the Sky Palace of Erotic Adventure, but I've been also throwing the What Culture staff into all their video editing classes, Clockwork Orange style. Like, case in point, did you know Sean actually left the channel months and months ago? Yeah, we just keep making new videos using all the old footage of him. Like, he said every single Star Trek word there is already, so we just keep splicing them together. Seamlessly, I might add. But personally, I've actually really enjoyed Halise Navarez's class on how to tell an engaging story in less than a minute. As someone who normally rambles on for ages on these various channels, I found her insights into how to drill down into the themes and the messages of what you're filming, as well as how to alter your cinematography for things like Instagram, really eye-opening. Look, here's a clip from my first go at it where I literally save a bee's life. That happened. And we would genuinely love for all you guys to have the same experience and access to all the same classes as we do, so we are offering Trek Culture viewers 1 entire month of Skillshare Premium absolutely free. Not 2 weeks like normal people get when they try and sign up for this 1 entire month. That is the power, lol, of being a Trek Culture fan. Free stuff, which other people can't have. Just click the link in the description, and if you are one of the first 1,000 to do so, you'll get unlimited access to thousands of classes from quality teachers for an entire month, absolutely free. Once again, huge thanks to everybody at Skillshare, and if you guys do go and check out those classes, that does help us massively here on Trek Culture, so it's great, it's a lovely time, it's a nice little triangle where everybody wins. It's fun, isn't it? Anyway, you were watching a video, I believe. Let's get back to it.
Number 6. Uhura has her mind wiped. In the episode of the original series, The Changeling, Uhura falls victim to Nomad's mind wipe. This is unfortunately quite a literal description, as she has all of her memories and knowledge removed by the alien probe. Understandably, this is a devastating thing to have happen to an officer. Some of the probe's effects on the Enterprise crew can be reversed. For example, when Scotty attempts to intervene with Nomad's assault on Uhura, he's killed. Moments later, he's revived. While the restoration of life is a quick affair, the restoration of a lifetime's worth of memories is either beyond its capabilities or it's simply uninterested in helping. Uhura is then forced to relearn everything she's ever known. Now, this being Star Trek, she has all of this knowledge back by the very next week, but let us assume that there was quite a gap of time between these 2 episodes. Uhura may be incredibly intelligent, but it does take time to learn all of the things necessary to sit at comms on a starship. Number 5. Nog loses a leg. Ensign Nog experienced his fair share of combat while piloting the USS Defiant during the Dominion War. However, despite the very real danger that this posed to the young Ferengi's life, it was at least, in its own way, slightly more removed from the ground combat that he experienced during the siege of AR-558. Here, Nog would sustain the worst injury of his career. While scouting a Jem'Hadar base, his position is discovered and he is shot in the leg by a Jem'Hadar soldier. The audience was already aware of the fact that Jem'Hadar weapons were fitted with an anticoagulant, effectively making every effort to ensure that once shot, a victim would bleed to death. However, for Nog, there was a way to save his life, though it came at the cost of his leg. Dr. Bashir removed it above the knee, much to the horror of his uncle Quark. As the elder Ferengi pointed out to Captain Sisko, this was the horrible cost of the mission that Nog had been ordered on. The psychological damage endured, leaving the young ensign with severe PTSD. It took the help of Vic Fontaine to help him begin to understand his pain, aiding him in his return to reality. Number 4. Kirk is blown out into space. Star Trek Generations may best be remembered for being the film in which Captain Kirk is killed, but he actually faces quite the trauma at the beginning of the film, one that the man survives thanks to the Nexus itself. While aboard the Enterprise B, Kirk is in deflector control when the bulkhead in front of him is torn away. The ship was caught on the trailing edge of the Nexus energy ribbon, and when Kirk activates the deflector to help them escape, a rogue tendril of energy catches the very section of the ship that he is in. It tears an enormous hole in the side of the vessel, one that is quickly sealed by emergency force fields. However, these barriers don't come into effect quickly enough. Kirk is blown out into space along with all of the atmosphere that was on Deck 15, Section 21 Alpha. Normally, this would have been an immediate death sentence for any human being. However, by a sheer stroke of luck, depending on how one looks at it, he's absorbed into the Nexus itself. There, time has no meaning, and so he finds himself standing outside a log cabin chopping wood just as another captain of the USS Enterprise approaches. Number 3. Riker loses an arm. In Schisms, the Enterprise D is visited by a race of aliens who seem to be the very template for alien abduction in literature. They visit various crew members at night, dragging them into their own universe and conducting horrible experiments on people, sometimes leading to their deaths. The unfortunate Ensign Hegler found this out the hard way, that serving aboard a starship is never risk-free. However, it's Commander Riker who survives, though not without cost. As he visits sickbay for an explanation as to why he feels as rough as he does, Dr. Crusher discovers, to her amazement, that Riker's arm has been severed and reattached. This all happened during the night, with Riker never being aware of the procedure. Never mind the psychological trauma of discovering someone had been hacking at him while he slept, but Riker was far from free of these beings. They continue to visit the crew of the Enterprise, only stopping once Riker turned the tables on them. He manages to escape along with Ensign Rhaegar, but not before the aliens send a homing beacon through the portal. It may not be the last time that Riker meets them. Number 2. Spock loses a brain. This has always been one of the more ludicrous things that has happened to Spock, and considering this Vulcan has literally died and come back to life, that really is saying something. During the 3rd season opener of Star Trek, his brain is harvested by the Imorgs, who intend to use it to substitute for their great teacher, a supercomputer who runs their world. And that's almost it. Spock's brain is nicked and brought to their planet when the Enterprise chases them. Thanks to the teacher, his brain is also able to be reattached. Thanks to Leonard Nimoy's contract, Spock is also able to survive this bizarre set of events. Dr. McCoy conducts the reattachment of the organ, even though this barely makes the top 10 list of weirdest procedures he's taken part in. What does make it slightly stranger is that a very awake Spock helps to talk him through it. Spock's brain is a truly unique episode, which no one could truly call good, but it really is so extraordinarily weird that it's never been forgotten by fans. Number 1. Worf is crushed and then dies for a while. You have to feel for Lieutenant Worf in the 5th season episode of The Next Generation, Ethics. This proud warrior is crippled by falling cargo container while on duty, leaving him in a paraplegic state. Despite her best efforts, Dr. Crusher can do nothing for him, as he's grown up with the Klingon belief that it's better to die on one's feet. This is potentially the worst type of injury that the man could have faced. Believing that there's no other option, he asks Commander Riker to aid him in his own suicide. Riker refuses, though he brings the matter to Picard. He even suggests for Worf to ask Alexander, though he's unable to do so. Enter Dr. Toby Russell, a neurological scientist who uses unproven and untested methods to achieve her ends. Between herself and Dr. Crusher, they try an experimental treatment that has a slightly severe result. Worf dies. Despite numerous attempts to revive him, he is pronounced dead and his son is brought in to see the body. Enter Klingon anatomy. Purely due to the fact that Worf is Klingon, he revives, with secondary systems in his own body protecting his higher brain functions. He effectively becomes Lazarus, and though it takes a while to get back to normal, he relearns to walk again. That's everything for our list today, guys. If you reckon I missed anything, please let us know in the comments below. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and remember that you can catch us over on Twitter at TrekCulture. You can catch myself on Twitter and Instagram at Sean Ferrick. Look after yourselves in the meantime, try not to get too badly injured, and live long and prosper. Thanks, guys.